Hello and welcome to my den. I'd like to explain a little bit about how I do the readings. Um, my style of reading doesn't necessarily suit everyone, and I always want to make that clear before I start the reading because if people are not happy with it, I don't charge or I refund them if they're really not after this kind of service. So I had to learn it the hard way. And to start by explaining before what to expect and tell the clients what to expect. Um, I like to empower the clients and I like to treat them as responsible adults. Um, Everything that happens in our life, this is what I believe, that everything that happens in our life, we invite it in. We create the patterns. We are carrying the patterns, and of course, at the beginning, it's unconscious. We're not aware that we're creating all of these things in our life, and nobody in the right mind would want to suffer, right? So I like to show that we need to be responsible for everything that happens, even if it seems that we're not to be blamed. So a lot of people don't like that. And they like to receive the reading in a form of as the psychics telling them what's happening in their life and what's coming in their life and what to expect. But I believe that we have an active role, so we can work on the manifestations and we can work on bringing what we want and understanding that if anything doesn't work, anything is negative and we're suffering in any way, it's not necessarily an evil eye, it's not necessarily a curse. I'm not saying those things don't happen, but just going with my own experiences and just based on what I learned in my own life, all the negative experiences are there because we want them there, because we attract them, because it's our pattern. We need to learn from them and move on. And it's actually it's a blessing in disguise, always. And of course, we can get into arguments of like that about the suffering and about the order in the world, and it can get very philosophical. And I don't want to do that at this point. I know that sometimes we can go round and round in a circle. And also, my understanding is that, okay, the certain things are karmic and they're meant to happen in our life, either based on our agreements as a soul contract before coming here, or this is we saw what we reap what we saw. But also things can happen in many different ways, and we have to kind of allow that magic to exist in our life, but also understand that there are many ways of achieving and the timelines and how we want to move forward. And there's a lot of personal choices that we have, and we have the free will. And so I really would like to give as much overview and try to create a clear picture so that the clients could understand where they stand in their life and how they're moving forward and really connect deeper to themselves. Again, from my own journey, I know that if we want anything improved in our life, doesn't matter which area it is. If there's anything out of balance and if there's anything that's causing a bit of blockage and making us unhappy, can be fixed by self-love, and more importantly, connecting to inner child. It's just so crucial, so crucial. So this is what I push people towards, to understand this is what's missing a lot of times. Self-love is something that we don't always learn from our adults, from our guardians, parents, and it's not taught in the school, and we don't always live our true self, and that's why majority of the time that's why we suffer. So that's my approach. which takes work and responsibility. And again, it's not for everyone. Everyone's not ready to take that step and go a bit deeper, and they like to stay sometimes on a surface, which is fine. Like, again, we can never judge or question why people don't want to go deep all the time. Everyone's got their own pace, and it's everybody's journey, and it's their choice. It's their own choice. You can never force anybody to go with a certain approach, or expect everybody to dig into their own darkness, because that's how we grow, by facing our fears and facing our darkness and feeling our pain. And sometimes it takes time and we need to be patient, but that's the way forward. So that's my approach. The way it works is I first allow a vision to come to me. The vision shows the life phase that client is going through. The life phase could take ages. It could take months. It could take years. It really depends. It's different for each person, and each reading is very, very, very different. They share certain aspects, of course, because I see everything in a form of a dream. So I close my eyes, I tune in. It takes me about 10-15 minutes. It really depends. Sometimes I have to sit longer, or sometimes it's shorter. And I'm shown the events that are taking place, and everything looks very beautiful, and it's, imagine a very high quality movie with high production values, with beautiful sceneries and just great design. It's all like that. It's a very picturesque, very scenic visions that I get. So, and I like to do that without knowing anything about the clients. And of course, some are the returning clients, or some are the friends and family. But I still would like to keep the details to minimum, because then what I get is fresh, without me worrying that I could be influencing that. I know that I usually don't, but I feel more comfortable to just let something to come through. And it's better for the clients as well, because we all like to share a lot sometimes. And when we want to speak on the phone, and when the clients want to speak on the phone, they immediately want to tell me what's going on. Not all of them, but the ones that are suffering, are in pain, and they need support and advice. They're very eager to share, and I always stop them. When I'm doing the distant reading, I generally keep it to WhatsApp, because that way it creates a boundary and oversharing. It stops the oversharing, and it helps me to stay focused and detached. And just focus on the vision and focus on the advice that is coming through. And this way I can keep the attention on the advice I need to give and the guidance that is coming through, without being involved in a conversation. So, and the other reason is that my reception is not always best. I can't always hear people well. There's like lines kind of disrupting. But with a voice message, you never get that, because things coming clear and it's direct. So I even ask I ask clients to do the same if they need to talk to me. I ask them to either send a voicemail or text. It's just how it works for me, and I understand it doesn't work for everyone. But I've noticed that this is the best way I can do a reading. That is makes, and sometimes it takes longer. So I allow an hour for each reading, and sometimes it can take longer, because sometimes there could be gaps between the moments I tune in. And because I need to find the most comfortable and the best moments to do that. And sometimes I can be disrupted when I'm at home, and when I'm, other things can happen. So there's a little bit of that going on. So I allow a little flexible time, and of course I communicate that it might take a bit longer. So when I'm doing the distant reading, the clients don't need to be present on the phone waiting. I don't need them to be on the phone waiting, unless they're very eager. Sometimes they are, very keen to get the reading and be on, in time to have a conversation. That's why I ask them to give me their photos, and I always need the recent photo to tune in. And if it's a relationship question, of course I need their photo with their partner as well, or the person in question that they're asking about. So that's all I need. I don't need names. I don't need dates. This is not how I get the information. I just go with the visual information, and that's how I tune in. And when it's face to face, then it's obviously the client's in front of me, so I don't need anything from them other than just being present. So after I allow the vision to come, which takes me about 10 minutes to see or more, it really depends. And of course, then I have to verbalize it in the best way I can. And describe it the best way I can. Which with the description, I just keep to the description, keep it simple, and just describe exactly what I see. After that, which can be very confusing if you just give that to people, because it's like, imagine that you're having a dream. You don't really understand what the events in the dream meant always. It's not always very clear because everything is symbolic and it's using the dream language. So I have to allow that. Allow the interpretation to take place. And the interpretation, because the symbolisms are very similar. Like I understand the language of the symbols now because I've done it for so long, for so many people, for over 5 years. So I really understand the meanings of the symbols, and I give my interpretation of what I think the vision means. But sometimes each client has their own understanding of some of the symbols, and because this is very interesting, that the symbols that come through the vision, they represent a certain meaning. For example, diving deep into the sea. I always interpret it as diving deep within yourself, going within yourself, and going below the surface. So that shows the soul searching and getting deep inside. Being in a dark, cavey place, it depends. That again is that's where you face your darkness. That's where you meet your fears and darkness, and that's where the cave and underworld is representing that. So these are the things that a lot of visions share, because what they're showing is they're showing the progression. They're showing a journey that brings a transformation. And we're all going through transformations. We're constantly going through cycles within cycles. Every time we look back, we notice that how we've been through certain cycles and we've learned something at the end of it, and the cycles could take years, months. It really depends on our situation, but they're always happening. We're always going through these cycles of learning and growing, always. And so those imagery are very similar. Like journeys can be very similar, but sometimes there's certain aspects of certain symbols are very personal to the reader, and that's why we have to have a conversation after that, after I've given, and ask them, okay, what does resonate, what doesn't resonate, because sometimes I might interpret something and it might actually be something else. Like seeing a child in the vision, it could mean the client's child, and it also means the inner child. So sometimes you have to differentiate which is which. In my understanding, most of the time when you see the child in the dream, in the vision, which is a dream, it's always the inner child. Majority of times, it is the inner child, not the actual child. And sometimes it can be both, because things can be seen and interpreted on different, and they correspond. Different layers of our reality can be interpreted through the vision. It's quite interesting, like how much meaning you can extract from it. So that's the conversation that I'm having. And after that, once this is all clear, usually the readers, the clients got certain questions, and that's why usually they want a reading, because they want guidance, they want an answer. And it's either about, a lot of times it's about relationship, of course, a lot of times. And the beauty of it is that when people go through emotional pain, and they feel they want to reach out to something bigger than themselves or beyond themselves, they feel that the psychic reading could give them that. And it's a beautiful way for them to reach out to something mysterious and unknown and hoping to receive guidance. And a lot of times people get this desire for the first time after a heartbreak, or when they're facing difficulty in their relationship, like they feel they need some answers, and this is when they are drawn to a psychic reader, and that could be the first time ever. And I think it's a beautiful thing that the pain actually shows us the way sometimes. And I think many, after having the reading, would see themselves and their lives differently, and that's what I'm hoping to achieve, so that they could see their part and see their life and see the complexity and the beauty and the spiritual aspect of their life. And this is, I feel like I would like to act like a gateway to kind of open a door and just say, like, look, there's all of these things you can explore. You can do this, you can do that, like, you can do all of it. You can't be overwhelming. I try not to overwhelm people. I try to be gentle. But I like to act like a doorway to just, introduce a lot of exciting things, or empower them to do the work, do the meditation, do the inner work, find a self-help practice that is going to suit them. So that's my approach. And then that was, sorry, I get distracted. With the questions, I have my spirit guide that I get the answers from, also angels. I was using tarot cards sometimes. I'm still learning them because they're fascinating and they're beautiful. And even if I'm not going to be necessarily using them in my practice, I just love tarot cards. I love the tarot. It's just a world of wisdom and beauty and magic that it just incredible. There's nothing else like it. And I'm just gradually learning more and more about it. But I started doing the reading with the tarot cards, even while it was just the start. But I noticed that I get my answers better. I receive the answers better when I connect to my spirit guides. And I just feel it's more direct. I'm able to interpret it better. I feel more tuned in with that. So I get the guidance through that. Sometimes I have a beautiful set of cards designed by lovely friend, great artist, Wayne Borrows. And which also he has a character, I forgot what to call it. Alter ego. We call words. Called Robert Holcomb. So these, I don't have them right here to show you with me. They are very beautiful, very surreal, and there is no guideline for them specifically. They're just open to interpretation intuitively. And they are amazing works of art, just beautiful. So they were the one that I was using. I felt that with my style of reading, I felt I could tune in better with them. And they're just such beautiful and mysterious deck of cards that are just mind-blowing. And I always have them when I do the reading, but a lot of times I have them so that the clients could have a look. It's something for them to do, because they're so unique and genuine and amazing that I would like the clients to just look at them and entertain themselves visually. Just look at the imagery. And so this is how I do it. When I use the cards, I rarely do it, but when I do it, that's when I'm closing my eyes and I'm seeing the vision, and it's a bit awkward and weird for the client to sit in front of me. So I give them the deck of cards and ask them to, have a look at this, enjoy the imagery, and set aside 10 in order, and then we'll read it. And that's how I do it. And it's interesting how the cards that they choose, it confirms the vision usually. They either show a similar imagery, or the meanings is the journey and the cards are very similar to what I see in the vision. So that's an interesting aspect. But the answers I receive from the guide is very direct. I feel that I can ask any questions from her, and she's very good with comparing paths. And for example, somebody's wondering about relationship, or they have different kind of ideas in mind in terms of their work, or choosing partners. She's very good with showing. And the way she shows me is, again, very visual, no words. Rarely I get certain words, but in form of a meaning rather than very clear answer. She gestures, and she just shows the meaning with showing the fruit or the plants. And for example, if she wants to show a relationship is rotten, for example, she would cut a fruit open and show me that there are maggots inside. Or if showing me like a plant that is growing, it will show like a career that is thriving. And so this is how she would communicate. And very interesting kind of working with her. So I really like to do that for getting the answers, or ask the angels for answers, which I love working with angels. I've been working with them for many years, and just have them as companions and friends, and just feel their presence around me. I just love working with angels.